Hi, I'm Burke MacDonald with Schaumburg Heartbeat. We're over at the Spring Valley Nature Center today. We're going to talk about recycling, and I'm with Dave Brooks. Dave is a Spring Valley manager. He's also the director of conservation for the Park District. And it seems that we're getting into a big problem with recycling now, that we've been all trained and that we've been doing a good job. A lot of the stuff is starting to get recycled, but the life is changing now, so that we have to change, right?
Well, recycling is still exists. It's out there. We encourage people to do it, but it is changing. And I guess what a lot of people probably don't realize is recycling is a business. It's recyclables are market commodities. So while we were all trained to do the right thing and help the environment by recycling, the people who are doing the recycling are doing. They're in it for the money. They're doing it to be able to gather those resources, be able to sell them so that they can be remade into other products. And I guess what's changing is the market economy for recyclables is going through some changes right now. So that's having an impact on how we collect things.
What's really amazing is, from what I've gathered from statistics, are hard to come by because they don't do surveys every year, but the last recent survey says that 50% of the typical garbage that you put out to the street, 21% of that is food scraps alone. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the other things are things like paper, yard trimmings, and wood waste. So there's a lot of material out there that it'd be nice if people figured out a way to reuse it.
Sure. Well, in fact, that's the things that you mentioned, the kitchen waste, the yard waste, wood fiber, those sorts of things. Those are things that we don't think of as being recyclable. They don't go in the recycling bin. They are trash, and they're usually sometimes can be kind of messy, so we want to get rid of those. But those are some of the most truly and easily recyclable things out there, because they are, in nature, all that stuff gets it goes through decomposition and it's recycled into soil and other nutrients for plants. So that's something that people could compost it at home, and a lot of communities now offer a compostable pickup service along with their recycling and their trash pickup. So those products can be diverted from the landfill and also then recycled and used again. So
we'll come back to those specifics mm-hmm. in a minute. But I think people really want to do what's right for the environment. Sure. People, like when we see things in the ocean where there's whole islands of just plastic, people do get worried.
Yes. Yeah, it's those sort of images that you can see on the news do make an impact. They raise people's awareness, or the other ones, of course, are they find these seabirds that have ingested all this plastic, or whales or other sea life that have eaten plastic, and they're sick and often do die. So our disposable economy that makes use of a lot of single-use plastics is having a global impact, and I think you're right. A lot of people are more aware of that and wondering what we can do about it. So,
one of your staff members' wives just went over to Europe. I guess she was in Italy, mm-hmm. and she got what would look like just a regular plastic bag, but it's a recyclable bag. It must be made out of plant material and so on, mm-hmm. That they can reuse it. Whereas our bags that we get in the plastic ones, at least in the grocery store, are really a big problem.
They are. They just they are not easily recyclable in most people, because they're a single-use bag. They're very flimsy. They're designed just to hold that weight of your groceries to get you home. And some people do find other uses for them, but for the most part, if they blow out of your recycling bin, then they end up in a tree somewhere. Right. Along the side of the road, so it's a great source of litter as well. So
okay, I know in our preparing for this, we talked about ways that you can reuse, mm-hmm. and one of them, many of the grocery stores now sell reusable bags. You have an example here, the Park District.
Yeah, Schaumburg Park District bag, which you can often get at Park District facilities, including Spring Valley. So yeah, one of the things that I try to stress to people is that while we've all been trained to be good recyclers, we probably need to work on our skills at being reusers, because our economy is just not set up for people to reuse a lot of things. Where it's built around single-use items and that. But people have in the last several years started to acquire reusable bags because of this issue of the plastic bags that we talked about.
We use a lot of water bottles, and here's a really good. These are easy to find. They're easy to purchase. I know you're going to try to put some together in the store here, but these are reusable water bottles, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's just such an easy thing for people to do. I know, there was a time when people didn't always carry water around with them, but it is nice to have. It's handy, and the plastic water bottles, the single-use bottles, are not truly recyclable, and they often don't get recycled. Even though they can be, you can put those in the recycling bin. But I would urge people to toss away, not to literally, but as a habit, the idea of buying single-use bottled water. Get yourself a good quality water bottle that's going to be durable, that carries the amount that you like to have with you, and just fill it up at home. You can, if people don't like tap water, you can get bottled water at the store.
And there's a lot of facilities. I know you're starting to convert here at the Park District. When you go to a drinking fountain, you'll see that there's a place on top, and you look at it and say, what's that all about? It has a water bottle underneath it. You put that underneath there, and you can refill your water bottle and then use it.
Sure,
and there's a lot of locations that are starting to offer that to the public. You talked about, I don't know if you have any with you here, reusable straws?
Yes, we do. They just recently came out. So these are some items that we're starting to sell in our gift store here at the Nature Center. So this is one. There's a few things you can find online. This is, what is it called? It's just called a collapsible straw. I've seen one that's called appropriately the last straw, which is a clever name. But so this is a stainless steel straw, if I can get it out of here, that folds up, and it has I believe it's a silicone liner, so it's washable, reusable. It fits in this little compact carrying case that you could put on your keychain if you wanted to. Ladies could keep it in their purse, and you could take this with you wherever you go. There's other versions of this out there as well, but this is something that will, while a straw seems to be a pretty insignificant piece of plastic, like what's the big deal with a straw? It's not that much. When you consider the quantity of plastic straws that are used and then thrown away, you start to realize the scale. I heard somebody say it's only one little straw said 8 billion people, so that kind of brings it home. So this is a nice alternative to that. Everyone probably would want their own personal straw. But,
I've also heard, though, that the straws become an ecological problem for animals too,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
It's basically a little plastic spear for some small animals, especially sea lice. So.
Now, do you have any other little secrets in there?
Well, there's a bunch of stuff that's now coming out onto the market, and again, I guess as an example, well, I'm going to use this as an example. I'm not going to show a brand name, but it's a popular coffee place that a lot of people go to, and of course, when you go to this popular coffee place,
and their main color isn't this color, but we won't say what it is.
No, this is my daughter's cup. So, so she picked this color up. I'm sure you could get other ones. Rather than get that disposable paper cup, albeit it is paper, so it is somewhat biodegradable, you normally will get a plastic lid and a straw, depending on if it's a cold drink or a hot drink. But you can get these at all sorts of places, but at this particular coffee shop, they will sell these to you. It is a reusable, washable cup. It can hold either hot coffee or, in my daughter's case, a frappuccino or whatever you want to call it, with your own reusable straw. So it's washable, reusable, and it just cuts.
Well, and this morning, I think I just heard on the news, or at least within the last week or two, there's some airport that's using, I don't know whether it's this brand, this location, but they're converting the stores in the airport to give people a choice, and they're hoping people will go with the reusable, that they will then pick up all these cups at the end of the day and sterilize them and reuse them again the next day, rather than getting something on your way to the airplane and then just before you get on the airplane you throw it out. So that's a good idea.
Yeah. So just some other things, another single-use plastic item a lot of people use are sandwich bags. Ziploc bags to pack lunches or snacks when they're going out with the kids. So this is a sandwich wrap, and this also can be easily, it's washable. It can be kept in your purse. You could even stuff it in your pocket. For example, if you're going out to eat, going out for lunch, and you have half a sandwich you want to take with you, it's plastic lined. It's got a cloth top, so you just fold up your sandwich in there or your leftovers.
Now you're getting these for out here in the store at the Nature Center,
Yeah,
right?
correct. We don't have this particular kind here for sale right now, but this is a very handy reusable thing. And also things like chips or cookies or nuts or whatever you might pack in your lunch, a dry type of food item. You can use this sort of washable, reusable bag as opposed to a plastic sandwich bag or a snack bag.
But the other thing you can do, and you mentioned a lot of people do this, a lot of those plastic bags, Ziploc I think some of them are called, and there's other names for them. You can actually reuse those if you wash them out. Usually they have a seal on the top so that you can reuse the seal. Again, it's going to be a little bit of work, but at least you're getting more use out of it than a one-use opportunity.
Yeah. Again, it's just coming up, trying to work into your mindset this habit of reusing things. We were talking earlier about clothing. That's something that is still commonly thought of as a reusable item. Most people don't typically throw away their kids' clothes when they outgrow them. They either hand them on to other family members. Sometimes they'll try to sell them, or they'll take them to a resale shop or give them to Goodwill. They just think this is a perfectly good shirt or pair of pants. I'm not going to throw it out. So we have that mindset that clothing is something that can easily be reused. It'd be nice to think of that in terms of some of these other things too.
Yeah, and I think people, some of the times when you see the products that get put out by the end of the driveway for garbage pickup day, sometimes people are putting that out so that it can be reused by other people. Mm-hmm. Furniture,
sure,
and other items that, yes, you can take it to a resale shop, and maybe in some cases you can get some money for it and they will up the price. There's a lot of charities that run resale shops, so you can bring things to those places also to do that.
Exactly, yeah.
Another place, if you're looking and you're going through your pantry and you notice things that are getting close to the out-of-date range, there's plenty of food pantries. Take your leftovers or the things that you're probably not going to use for a while and donate them to the food pantry.
Quality parks and recreation opportunities are essential for a healthy, thriving community. Studies show recreation and leisure programs reduce stress and make communities healthier, reduce crime rates, and increase local property values. The Schaumburg Park Foundation recognizes the value of maintaining an exceptional park system in Schaumburg and helping those in need enjoy recreation and leisure programs. Through our 3 fundraising events, Solstice Hop and Vine Fest, the Lynx Technology Cup, and the Holiday Bazaar, we work all year long to ensure that everyone in Schaumburg can experience health, wellness, and active fun through superior parks, programs, and amenities. Learn more or donate at schaumburgparkfoundation.org or call 847-985-2115.
Okay, we talked about this a little earlier, that one of the main thing that people can do, it's not very expensive. It takes a little bit of work, a little bit of maintenance, but it isn't really a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's composting, right?
Yes, yeah. This is especially handy for people who garden or do any kind of gardening around their property. And in a compost bin, we have a pretty elaborate setup here at the Nature Center with these 3 bins, because we have, our kids that are participating in our summer camps and programs do learn about composting, and we help them to do it here. So we have a lot more material to add to this. So,
but basically, it's 3 things that you need to have, and that's green material, right?
Yes. Yeah. So lawn clippings or weeds from your garden.
Okay, brown material.
Brown clipping or brown material could be leaves. Your leaves in the fall. If you have straw. It could be coffee grounds, could be a lot of things. So.
How much of your food things at home, like you don't really normally want meat or fish in there, right?
No, you don't. For composting at home, you definitely want to leave out any meat or dairy. You also want to leave out things like pet waste, diapers. If you have a baby at home, those are things that are going to contaminate your compost. So you want to the things that you can easily compost from your kitchen are all the fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, things like eggshells. You could even, if you want to, take like old pasta that that's not all full of sauce. You want to leave the very rich things like the meat and the dairy out, because that will tend to draw in rodents. Whereas the fruit and vegetable scraps will not draw in rodents.
So you take and you mix your browns and your greens, and then obviously we all need water to live. That needs water to grow, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're basically reenacting or encouraging the natural process of decomposition that occurs in the soil all around us, in the woods and fields, and you're just putting together all the ingredients needed for nature to start that decomposition process. Those greens, those browns, you usually want to add a little bit of topsoil or finished compost. You can get compost starters at the garden store too, and then add some water, and then once you've got your pile built up, maybe a foot or two, the soil bacteria, the worms, everything else will invade it, and they will start going to work.
But you need to turn it once in a while too, right?
You do need to ideally turn it. You don't really have to, but the process will be sped up and encouraged if you do turn it, because you want to get some air in there. You don't want it to be a sodden mass of a rotting material, because then it will potentially start to smell a little bit. And I know a lot of people that is what deters them from thinking about composting. They just imagine it's going to be a smelly pile of garbage in their yard. And if you maintain it with it, and it's not like you have to turn it every day. Once every few weeks is all you need to do.
And now you have 3 set up here, but that's more for convenience, and the fact that you can do one and then start another one that you can use, and then if you need it for a third one.
Sure.
But the other thing, this one is built like you say. It's a more fancy one, but you built it with a way to take the side off on one side.
So these are because you do want to be able to get the material, both to add material, which is easy from the top, but once at the bottom of that whole pile is where you're going to find some rich topsoil. It's basically compost. It's the decomposition process is complete. It is ready to put on the garden. You can spread it on your lawn. You could bag it up and sell it to your neighbors if you want to. But the idea is that you got to be able to get it out of there. So
we want happy neighbors.
Yeah, you want happy neighbors. So you probably want to give it to them.
Right.
And then once they're hooked on it, then you can start selling it to them.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, this side all comes out board by board, so that obviously we use this with kids here, so they can get a shovel in there and they can scoop stuff out and they can spread it in the garden. And then
you also said, because of what you're doing here and there's moisture and organic stuff going on, you use cedar, you said? Or what type of wood?
Yeah, we use cedar, which is a more expensive lumber just because it resists rot. This compost bin will be here longer. You don't need to use cedar. You could use pine, but your boards might start to warp a little bit, and you might start to find your posts rotting in the soil after 5 to 7 years or so. It depends how moist your landscape is. But the cedar will definitely last a long time. So.
Now, you stuck, we're using more props today than we normally do on this segment, but what is this?
So this is what this is probably more of an institutional scale of kitchen waste collection. So we keep this in the kitchen at the Nature Center. So when kids come in and have lunch for the summer camps, we have a nice little, I don't know if you can see that there with the camera, but we want them to feed the compost machine, and it gives them some examples: banana peels, apple cores, leftover salad that of course the kids don't eat, because why would they eat salad for lunch when they have cookies? So, but just remind them of what goes in here and what does not. They mostly do a pretty good job, and you can just see, we can see that they mostly do a pretty good job because somebody put a plastic bag in there. That is not compostable, but the rest of the stuff in here is orange peels, coffee grounds, whatnot. So but this is something that if you're going to compost at home, you do need to have some way to gather your kitchen waste. And I would suggest for most homeowners, you definitely don't want something this big, because you probably don't go through that many fruits and vegetable scraps, and you don't want things to start to compost in your kitchen, because that'll make things.
But one of the things that you do to help people, this gets to be complicated. In the store, you have a smaller version where you can compost and it has a way to turn it itself too.
Yeah, you can buy compost tumblers. We don't sell those here. What we sell here at the Nature Center, and you can give us a call if you're interested. It's obviously much simpler than this 3-bin system. It's a single bin. It's made of plastic. Comes in 2 pieces, so it's a circular thing. It has a big lid on the top and 2 doors on the sides, so you can get things out of there. But it would be a great way for somebody who has a little bit of space and has a garden and wants to start composting at home. We can set you up with this composter, and it'll last a long time.
Okay, and then one last thing, the village of Schaumburg has gotten involved, offering a service. There's a little bit of a fee to it, but through our garbage pickup program in the village of Schaumburg, you can ask for a bin that's got a brown top on it. You can either get the big one like this, or they have a smaller size, and basically you put the same thing in that as you do in this can that we mentioned earlier.
So yeah, that's a nice alternative for people who just don't have the space or the means or the time or whatever. They just don't want to compost at home, but they do want to do the right thing environmentally in terms of seeing those wastes, those organic waste reused. So the waste hauler will pick that up from your curb, and you can mix it in with your leaves or like any landscape waste that you have at home, and that just goes out on the curb.
Your grass clippings?
Your grass clippings could go in there, but all of your kitchen waste can be added to that, and they will haul it away for you. So it's a way to compost without having to compost at home in your backyard.
And it gives you a way to involve yourself in being ecological. Okay, let's move back out where we were. Okay, we got a couple more things that we're going to talk about. One is the landfills and when we're putting our garbage together, how to deal with it. But let's talk a little bit about landfills. Landfills are a necessity. We have to do something with all this material, so landfills have come into play, right?
Yeah. They're just a response to, obviously a large population, a lot of waste that needs to go somewhere, things that can't be recycled, can't be reused. Though, you could make the point, and maybe you were going to do this, that of course, unfortunately, a lot of things are going in the landfill that could be recycled or reused, and obviously we want to try to divert as many of those as possible. But there's always going to be things that just they're garbage. They just need to be disposed of somewhere. So. And
when you put things out every week, you do have two. You have a trash pile and a recycle pile. We're going to talk about that. And once they get into that Republic takes these to their big plants, they basically have a great big huge dump floor where they try to sort some of the material out too.
For the recyclables, yeah.
For the recyclables and to make some sense out of it. But then they sort of crush it all together and it goes out to the landfill, right?
Well, yeah, at least the recyclables get sorted, separated, and then baled so that they can be shipped off for remanufacturing somewhere. But of course, all of the waste, all of the stuff that's not recyclable, just gets transported to the landfill, which is basically a big hole in the ground that has a seal at the bottom to prevent any contaminants from getting into the groundwater. And then once that landfill is full of waste, then they will cap it, put another seal on the top, and call it a landfill.
Now, one of the nice things about this is the landfills and the waste haulers are trying to be responsive to all these major problems. And they obviously have to earn a living. You have to pay people to do all this. But with the landfills, they try to recapture the gases that are created, right? And some of that can be reused in fuel and other sources on making energy, right?
Sure, exactly, yeah. The main gas coming off of decomposition would be methane, so they can capture that, and that is a fuel, so it can be burned.
Some of them have created, they build the landfill, and then they've created solar farms on top of it. So they put these big solar panels out there to generate electricity. So not only do you have your landfill there that's serving a purpose, but it's being reused and repurposed for something that's practical for people. And then a few of them I know there's at least one in New York, there may be one in Chicago. They've repurposed these into parks where they've actually, have done it in a way that's safe, but they create canals and ponds and hills and places for people to go and have some time together as a family.
Sure, yeah, which is kind of ironic. Let's all go out to the landfill, kids, and
Right.
have a day. But they become landscape features, especially nice in a place like Illinois that doesn't have a lot of terrain. But they can become sled hills. They can be park spaces, place for kids to fly kites. There's all sorts of ways that they can be used.
I think we have a terrific team of trainers. We all sort of excel in different areas. You need to be paired up with someone who works well with what you need. I would hope that people would want to come to me because of the personal attention that I give each and every one of my clients. I will give you everything I have to make sure that you can accomplish what your goal is. It's a priceless moment that I relish.
We're going to talk a bit about now, we're at home or you're at home, and every week you have to put your 2 trash cans out, and we want to talk about how to do that in a way that it'll work and that the stuff that is able to be reused, that they can actually reuse it. I mentioned earlier a bag that one of the people that work here at the Nature Center's wife was in Italy, and this is the bag, and you can see it just looks like a normal bag that we'd find, except it's not made out of plastic. So it can be done. But let's talk a little bit about, I got a jug here. That's reusable, right? That can go into the...
Well, it's recyclable. So
Right.
this is I can't remember the name of the plastic, but it's all plastics have a little triangle with the arrows and a number on it, and check with your waste hauler to make sure that they take all of those. They generally will. The key thing with plastics is they have to be clean. If it has any food on the inside, it's considered contamination and it's going to end up in the landfill. So you do have to rinse things out, before you put them
Right,
in the...
that is a critical part, and we will reinforce that more than once probably. You need to rinse this out, let it dry, and then put it in by itself. I have it in a bag here because we're trying to organize this for the show, but you don't want to put it in a bag in the recycle bin. You want to put it in loose so that when it gets dumped in the truck, it's all loose, and that their machines, once they get it, they can deal with it and they don't have to have another person to take the bag apart. One of the big no-nos that people have for years thought that, they get your hamburgers, you get your leftovers from restaurants in these, like, I think they call them clamshells.
Yeah.
This is styrofoam.
Yes, it's a plastic, but because it's a lightweight foam, the recyclers don't want this because it has a lot of air in it, so it takes up a lot of space. The economics of this don't work for recycling, so they're just going to put that in the landfill.
One of the quotations that they use: "If in doubt, throw it out." This would be, it isn't, to put this in your trash can. Do not put it in your recycle can. Now I know for a lot of you that may be something that you didn't know, but it's very important that you do that. Then there's other items that we have here that, again, you look at the numbers on here, and a lot of these are recyclable. You get these from when you go out to eat, or when you buy things in the grocery store that are prepared. A lot of times they give it to you in these plastic boxes, right?
Yes, correct.
So again, clean them, don't snap it on, just leave it loose and put it in the recycle bin. Another thing that's useful here, this came out of your other...
The compost bin.
compost.
That is not a recyclable item.
So that would go in your trash. Lots of times you have little tin materials. that obviously would go in the recycle, right?
Yes, as long as it's washed again. So just wash it out, dry it, and then you can put it in there. It is a
Your soda cans that you buy at the store, I don't think, Schaumburg, I don't think drinks a lot of beer, but it's a German community, so probably a good amount of beer.
There's,
The
yeah,
beer-
I think Americans in general. So.
The beer cans, again, rinse them out. They can go in the recyclable. One that's questionable, but I did call Republic, and they will allow it, is glass. Glass is getting to be difficult to recycle, right, because of the heat?
Yeah, it's the problem with glass is it's a heavier material, and what they're doing is they do all these calculations how much energy and resources are involved in manufacturing a glass bottle versus how much energy and materials and resources are involved with transporting, crushing, recycling, and then so the bottom line is the economics and the environmental footprint of recycling glass bottles doesn't add up in most cases. So a lot of recyclers are not taking glass anymore because it just is not economical for them to do so. It's actually cheaper for the manufacturers just
Right. But I did call Republic, and Republic is still accepting
they are, okay.
glass in your recycle bin. So you need to clean it out. You need to let it dry, which is a little bit of work, but it isn't that much work. You can just let it air dry. Again, put it in individually. Don't stack it all together. Just drop it in the bag. Also, a big recyclable is newspapers you can put in there, and also cardboard. They ask that you take the cardboard and make it flat, because obviously it takes a lot of space, and that would fill up space in the truck, and it just creates more problems. So if you can flatten your boxes and put them in the recyclable, they will take that also.
Yes, yeah. And again, one thing that a lot of questions come up, like a carry-out pizza box.
That's a good one.
You can, if there's pizza cheese or grease on that cardboard, it is contaminated, so that's got to go in the garbage. However, if the bottom part is the only part that's greasy or contaminated, tear off the top, put that in recyclable, put the other half, you've just done a little bit to divert something from the landfill. So.
Some of this problem with selling it over to these other countries is the fact that we've created our own problem, that we're so used to just conveniently put it in this box or put it in that box, and when it's contaminated, they can't take it, they can't reuse it, so it contaminates everything, and the contamination rate got so high that they decided not to do it.
Yes.
And that's why we're now in this situation that we have to do it ourselves, and hopefully we can do it. Well, I don't know, we've covered an awful lot of material.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, so.
I hope that you have some idea of what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. We ask that you do participate in recycling and help the environment, and hope that you've got something out of this section. I'm Burke MacDonald with Schaumburg Heartbeat, and don't forget, take time for fun.